So far, we've determined that we have a C major chord in root position, followed by an F major chord also in root position. In the key of C major, that means that we have a 1 and a 4 chord so far in our first measure. Now I'm going to advance to the second measure, and just in case this goes off screen, here's a reminder that the top line, the top staff is treble clef, and the bottom staff is bass clef. So once we start looking at these notes, I hope I'm just pointing that out so that way we are not going to think that this is a B, this is in fact going to be a D, this is an A, this is G, and that's B. Okay, I just wanted to remind you that this bottom clef is going to be bass clef because it's no longer going to be on screen. So speaking of this first note here, being the note D, I'm going to go ahead and mark that. So we have a D in the bass voice. Up above that in the tenor is an A. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not very nice looking. There we go. Above the A, up here in the alto voice, up here we have the note F. And our uppermost voice, the soprano, is a D. So in this chord we have D, F, A. Now those notes, they spell out a D minor chord. And I'm going to abbreviate that D, M-I-N. So we have a D minor chord, and label what it is in Roman numerals. So, okay, we're a bit laggy. All right, caught up. So let's go down to this area where I wrote out my scale, just all over the music. We need to figure out what Roman numeral we have for the note D. We look at our scale, we have the first note is C, our second note is D. So D minor is going to be our 2 chord. So we need to mark here with a Roman numeral 2. But remember, minor chords, minor intervals, we like to represent those with lowercase letters, lowercase things in music. So we are going to have that. You can have them as 2 I's that are totally separate without the bottom line, or you can put the bottom line. Either way, we want these to be lowercase i's to say, hey, this is a minor 2 chord. Now once again, D minor is our chord, and the lowest note we have is D. That means that this is also in root position, and you might be sensing a pattern so far. Okay, 2 more chords, and you'll find that the last one's going to be really easy. So if we look here, let's label the notes that we have. We have G in the bass. We have a B up above that. I don't know why it didn't take. Okay. The alto line is going to stay on the note F, and the soprano line is going to stay on the note D, and I'm going to give that one another try. There we go. Much better. So here we have a G, we have a B, we have a D, and we have an F. Now I'm not going to pull up the keyboard visualizer that I like, but we hopefully know by now that G, B, and D, that makes a G major chord. When we add an F to that, that's the 7th above G. So what we have here is a G7 chord. Here, let me make that 7 look a little bit better. So we have a G7. And just one last time, let's come down here, look at our scale. I labeled numbers 1 is C, 2 is D, 3 is E, 4 is F, and 5. That is going to be our G chord. So we need to mark this one with a Roman numeral 5, which is a capital V. And in addition, because we have a 7th chord, we have to say down here, we have to show somehow that this chord isn't just a 5 chord. It's not just a G major, it's actually a G dominant 7th. All you have to do for that is put a 7 next to the 5, and we would read this as a 5-7. Now last thing, this is a G7 chord, and we have a G in the bass. Once again, we have a note, or we have a chord in root position. And the very last thing we're going to look at is this last chord here. Okay, so you're going to see, whoa, it's actually not a full chord. Let me show you why that is. So the notes that we have are C in the bass, C in the tenor, we have an E in the alto, and our top note is a C. Now you'll notice, normally we would expect something like C, E, and then probably a G somewhere in here to make this a C major chord. But with the way that the rules that I haven't fully explained for writing parts like this work, I found that it was a bit too hard to make our last chord include a G, and sometimes it's actually allowed to do something like this where you have 3 instances of the root. You just better remember to have the third. So we have a C and an E here, and we're going to assume that G would be another note that fits in this chord. So we would assume this is also C major, and as we saw here at the beginning, C major is going to be a 1, capital I for Roman numeral 1, and it's C major chord, the root is C, and that's what we have in the bass, so this is also in root position. So let me zoom out a little bit so we can see all of this at once. Okay, what we have here is a 1, 4, 2, 5, 7, 1 progression. Those are the chords that we have in order: 1, 4, 2, 5, 7, 1. That is a very, very standard chord progression. That's something that you've probably heard without ever realizing it. It's standard sound, should sound nice and like everything makes sense, hopefully. I'm going to play Chorale 1 just one more time, but do pay attention here, because this is the last question on your worksheet. Is basically going to be write out this progression in Roman numerals. Do remember minor here, minor 2, lowercase i's, everything else is uppercase. Okay, so we've analyzed this. Let's give this one more listen, just the first chorale. We're not going to listen to chorales 2 and 3 again today. So just one more look at this, and yes, it was on purpose that I wrote all of these to be root position chords for the first chorale. Thank you everybody for watching. Let me know if I can help you in any way with the worksheet today, and I look forward to sending out another lesson tomorrow. Have a great day everybody. Goodbye.